everyone. طيب أول حاجة أنا عاوزة أقولها، أنا كنت بجد نفسي أعرف أتكلم بالعربي for the whole panel، بس إحنا يا دوبك في آخر سنة يعني عرفنا نفهم يعني إيه NFT ويعني إيه Web3 أصلاً. فصعب قوي أعرف أتكلم بالعربي في التكنيكال terms دي، بس أحاول على قد ما أقدر. بس أنا عندي عاوزة أسأل أول سؤال بس أفهم الأودينس كده شكله إيه. مين واثق قوي من نفسه في how they understand NFTs, like who feels like they really understand what NFTs are? But put your hands right up so I can see it. Amazing. So no one will know that I don't know what I'm talking about. That's great. مين بقى عارف NFT تتقال ازاي بالعربي؟ اوكي. طيب أول حاجة I think that's very important when we talk about a topic like this, or we talk about NFTs, is to remember that in reality, الموضوع نفسه is going to seem very archaic very very soon. هيكون كأننا كلنا بنتجمع من العالم كله عشان نقعد في بانل هنا في الرياض عشان نتكلم عن ايميلز مثلا. But we've got to start somewhere, and we're big believers that the most important place to start is with education and with literacy and with understanding. I'm the CEO and founder of a company called Mo4. Mo4 is a media network with over 10 publications and a creative digital agency. And recently, Timmy, who is one of my co-founders and partners at Mo4, we founded Nifty Scene and Nifty Arabia, which is a digital marketplace, and Nifty Scene, which is a media company designed to educate and create literacy around the Web3 space. And why did we do this? I think what creatives and creators and marketeers and storytellers and dreamers like all of you in this room don't always realize is that the next phase, not of the creative economy, not of the advertising industry, but the next phase of the economy will be shaped and driven and designed by creatives. Digital creativity is becoming right at the very center of our society and essentially of our humanity. And that's why it's very, very important for us to take the time to have these conversations with amazing co-panelists like today to really start to understand, because in the Middle East especially, this is such a nascent market. And it's such early days that as Arab creatives and creators, we really have an opportunity to not be second place, but to really be pioneers in these spaces. So I'm very honored and thrilled today that I'm joined by Faisal and Amr. Amr is an artist, a conceptual artist who has been a loud voice in the space in the region and in Saudi specifically in the NFT space. Faisal is a contemporary artist whose work has been exhibited around the world. And Timmy, my partner and co-founder, as I said, is the founder of Nifty Scene and Nifty Arabia. Okay, guys, are you ready? هنبتدي. Timmy, just for the sake of the definition and because we didn't have a lot of hands up, I need you in 30 seconds or less. 30 seconds. You have 30 seconds to give me a very quick definition. What is an NFT, Timmy?
Okay. I think there's a lot of information and misinformation out there about what an NFT is. The most important thing that you need to know is NFTs prove ownership over digital assets. And in a world which is becoming increasingly digitized, we spend more than 60-70% of our lives in these virtual spaces. And as we move even further into immersive virtual worlds like metaverse, what we own online is going to become very important. That was 30 seconds. I could carry on.
Oh, is that it?
Should we get into the details?
Now
then?
Everyone understands everything. We're ready to go.
Any digital file, it could be a picture, a video, a sound, a piece of text, uploaded to the blockchain via a smart contract becomes an NFT. And what is a smart contract? Essentially, it's a deed to your digital property. Just like you have a piece of paper which says you could own a house, in the same way a smart contract says that you own this digital file. NFT stands for non-fungible token. Non-fungible means that it's a one-of-a-kind asset. So when you create an NFT, you're proving who owns it, thus giving it scarcity, and thus giving it value as well.
I was trying to make it really exciting by clapping at the end.
Just to go even clearer on that, I think it's important to understand blockchain before you sort of understand the NFT space. And a blockchain is simply a digital registry which confirms information and transactions across thousands of computers and servers across the world. This makes it decentralized and unhackable, so you can trust the information that's on it, and that's how this works. And so for the first time in history, we can own and transfer assets without the need of a centralized institution or middleman such as a bank or a lawyer. And this is why the technology can work today. And I know we're going to be talking a lot about things from an art perspective, because in terms of digital art, you know, it's created a whole new economy for digital artists. But I do believe this emerging technology will take over almost every single industry in the creative industry and market as well.
NFT yoga? Yoda? Oh, he's the NFT Yoda. I thought you were saying NFT yoga. I don't know what that is.
Should we do some NFT yoga?
We should do some NFT yoga. We'll have a session after the panel. Yeah. Amr, I'd love to start with you. So you entered the space in 2021. What I want to know is, what about it really sparked your interest? And has it been lucrative for you? Do you now own a yacht? أنا عاوزة أوضح أي حد يرد بالعربي actually يفضل إن تردوا بالعربي حتى لو أنا يعني مش عارفة وبسأل بالإنجليزي بس تقولوا NFT بالعربي برضو non fungible token. Okay, go for it, go.
شكرا لإتاحة الفرصة لي في مشاركة هذا الحدث ضمن نخبة من المبدعين، وأكون من أوائل السعوديين اللي يطلعوا علني ويتكلموا عن ال NFTs Web3 بشكل عام. بصراحة في بداية الرحلة أنا بدأت رحلة ال NFTs في منتصف 2021، وكانت البداية يعني صراحة فضولية أكثر. حبيت أكتشف وأجرب أكثر من إنه أنا I know فين رايح what happened. لكن before I'm doing digital already، الفن اللي بعمله رقمي أكثر، فحسيتها فرصة جميلة وممتازة لي كبداية، خاصة إنه something new مرتبط بالكريبتو كارنسي. وفكرة إنه كيف إنك أنت تقدر تندمج مع الفنانين من حول العالم من أي مكان. هذا كان من أهم النقاط اللي شجعتني في البداية.
أعتقد يا عمرو في ناس كتير قوي بيخشوا المجال ده الأيام دي بالذات عشان هم حاسين إن بنشوف أرقام خيالية أما بنقرأ الأخبار. 69 مليون و يعني أرقام غريبة، وواحد بيصحى ويلاقي نفسه ملياردير. As an artist, how do you feel about الناس داخلين in this space with that intention?
اوكي بشكل عام في البدايه ما انكر انه كان في عندي شويه جانب انه I'm looking for something مادي، ابى اكسب whatever كانت. لكن صراحه مع الوقت لما اندمجت اكثر، بدات اطلع اكثر، اقرا اكثر، لقيت انه الفكره no it's something more than money او شيء مادي. يس في ممكن collections project whatever سميناها، ممكن الشخص يقدر يدخل منها مكاسب مادية، لكن في أشياء برضو أهم اللي هي كيف أنت أصلا بتخش مع الكوميونيتي، بتتكلم معاهم، انجيج معاهم أكتر، تفتح أبواب أكتر. لكن إذا واحد حاب إنه يجمع بين الاثنين it's fine برضو.
So building on that, فيصل أما إحنا كنا طلبنا من فيصل if he would kindly join us for the panel النهاردة. وفيصل, just bearing in mind, I know he's worked in the NFT space, he's done collaborations in the NFT space, even his own collection. بس قلنا له would he like to come and talk with us on the panel, رد قال yeah, but FYI, I don't believe in NFTs. Faisal, maybe you can elaborate on that. Why don't you like NFTs, Faisal?
Sure. So, is it working? Yeah. أول شيء أحب أعرف بنفسي فيصل الخريجي, فنان تشكيلي سعودي, أمزج بين الثقافة والرسم التكعيبي والسريالي بهدف إني أطلع بلوح فريدة من نوعها تمثل الثقافة بشكل مختلف. And to answer your question, I've worked on NFTs before, and I did some NFTs solely for the purpose of experimenting and publicity, because it's a growing space. خليني أتكلم بالعربي أحسن. سويت بعض قطع NFTs. طبعا أنا أعمالي كلها يدوية, ومؤمن جدا إنه قيمة الأعمال الفنية تكمن في الدقة أو العمل اليدوي وowning اللوحة الأصلية نفسها. once تتحول ديجيتال, في رأيي أو في نظري إنه الفاليو حقها يروح, لأنه اللمسة حقت الفنان ما عاد تنشاف بالعين المجردة, وبتصير صورة تقدر تتكرر, يقدر يصير منها سكرين شوتس, ما في أي شيء يميز الصورتين عن بعض غير الأعمال اليدوية اللي الواحد يقدر يشوف فيها لمسة الفنان يعني على الطبيعة. دخلت مجال ال NFTs عشان الهايب اللي طلع عليه, جربتها. ما هو غلط إنه الواحد يجرب مجالات جديدة. جربت ال NFTs, سويت أكثر من مجموعة NFTs, نزلتها على أكثر من بلاتفورم of NFTs للتجربة. لكن يفضل رأيي إنه اللوح الرقمية أو الصور الرقمية طالما ممكن تتكرر وأي واحد يقدر يسوي لها سكرين شوت, ما لها قيمة زي اللوحة الأصلية اللي handmade. It's one of a kind piece that you own.
I think تيمي هيرد على موضوع سكرين شوت بعد ثانية, بس you know, أنا عندي 42 سنة, I really appreciate, يعني أنا برضو بكون عندي 42 سنة, and I'm a writer and I'm a journalist, and I grew up, you know, Amr was saying earlier about typewriters في المكتب. I grew up, and when I started my career إحنا كنا بنسيف الارticles بتاعتنا on a floppy disk. I truly am appreciative of the value of tangible things. But I also have a 10-year-old and an 8-year-old. And I think what we sometimes, our generation, even the younger ones amongst us, I think what we sometimes don't realize is that the way this next generation, who will be future consumers and future shapers of our culture, consume the internet and understand these digital spaces is so very different to how we do. And their understanding of the value and power and integrity of their digital identities and their digital assets is so far removed from how we view these things. We view them as something removed from us. This is tangible and this is digital. For them, those lines are very, very blurry. And I think that's what we need to begin to understand, in my opinion at least, where the value, it's a new asset class, essentially, for a generation that views their digital identities as integral to their real world identities. Yep. You know, building or going away from what Faisal said to me, I know you are very, very passionate about the ways in which these technologies can change our future economies, the way we trade and the way that we understand our identities. So perhaps you can talk a little to that.
I think if you look back at the revolutions of the internet, going back into the 90s, we had Web 1, as they call it. And that was a basic version of the internet, which was almost read-only, right? We just consumed that information. And then Web 2 came along, and you had all these social media platforms like Instagram and TikTok and Twitter and Facebook, and for the first time people could interact with the internet and put their content out there and create these sort of digital or almost fake personas of them online that were getting more and more and more important. But the issue is there, they don't really own that content. Now, Kareem was talking earlier on the Peace Cake discussion about the algorithm and how it's really taken over our lives and we have to work with this algorithm. So then the reality is, in terms of the creative industry, everyone is at the behest of this algorithm. Make your video smaller, make it longer, post 1 time a day, post 10 times a day. And all of this is essentially just profiting the big tech behind the platform, because you can't really pay the bills with likes at the end of the day. I see NFTs and this as a sort of escape from this algorithm which has kind of had the industry by the hold, and a removal of the reliance from that. And I'll tell you how. Web3 is about owning the content that you put out there. Now, if I release an NFT collection and I have 100 people buy my NFT, that is infinitely more powerful than 10,000 people following me on social media or 100,000 people following me on social media. Because what NFTs are doing are turning consumers into investors. So those holders of my NFT are going to be my biggest brand ambassadors, my biggest marketeers. And as a community, and the hardest thing in this world for any brand is to grow a community, a targeted community, because they're interested in the product that you're selling or in the art that you're creating, they are going to be your best creative input for you to grow as a brand or as an artist, because as you grow, the value of their NFT grows too. Thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars are spent in terms of media buying and boosting across these social media platforms just to remove the people that you don't want. By creating something like an NFT collection, and I do believe we're going to get into that space very soon, where every single brand will have some form of a collection. It's already happening now. Almost every single major brand in the world has one. You're able to immediately raise funds and target the exact audience who are going to be your consumers and reward them for doing so as well. And so there's that aspect of it. But then also in terms of, just like on social media, what we put out there, to create our digital identities, because the blockchain is transparent, what it means is our footprint that we'll leave on the blockchain, the things that we buy as NFTs and that we hold, will say more about our identities and our desires and who we are than your Insta feeds and your Pinterest pins do today.
That's a really good point that you brought up with regards to the brands and the marketing and the stories that can be told through these technologies. Faisal, I understand that you also actually work in marketing away from being an artist. Yeah. And so as an artist, I understand that you still have a kind of tenacity towards the tangible aspect of the art. But what about as a marketeer? Do you feel the same way?
Again, I feel the same way so I see merit in NFTs and I see the merit in the system of it, but I think it's being misused. Yeah. In my opinion, NFTs, as I saw a clip of Timmy saying, you cannot say I don't believe in NFTs, just like you can't say I don't believe in emails. And I really love that, because NFT is a system, but it doesn't give value to things that are not valuable. And again, whether as an artist or a brand, again, as a brand, you try to market your products and you try to sell your products. That should be a focus of the brand, not create something, let's say an image that doesn't have value, and then try to convince consumers of buying that image instead of convincing them on buying your product. So I see merit in NFTs as a system, but I think it's being misused and misunderstood, where people think if you turn anything to NFT, it has a value. Yeah. And it shouldn't be the case. It should be, I really love the idea of using NFTs as a method of proving ownership, but I think we're far away from using it in the right way to prove ownership of the things that actually matter or that have value.
I agreed completely, Faisal, actually. Although as a moderator, I'm not supposed to agree or disagree. I think I'm supposed to be objective. But that's a really good point, and I want to take that point and I want to throw it over to Amr, because there's two things here. There were two things in my head as Faisal was speaking, and now I'm really tired, and they have gone out of my head. The value, that was it. Amr, where do you stand on the idea of, speaking of, let's not just say NFT for the sake of NFT, right? But then you have now a kind of new generation of artists that will call themselves NFT. I'm an NFT artist. What does that mean? What does that even mean to be an NFT artist? I know Timmy hates the term. I kind of get the feeling you probably do as well, Faisal. I want to know how you feel about this idea of this is NFT art, but then also speaking to what he's saying, how do you feel about the idea of you as an artist? How do you feel about the idea of utility? Can we, before you answer that question, can someone just very quickly explain to the audience, probably better than me, what I mean when I say utility in NFTs, and then I'd like Amr to answer that.
Sure. So, like Faisal was saying, just releasing a picture as an NFT. I mean, unless you're a prominent artist who's grown a big community and they're collectors of your art, it's not going to go anywhere, especially if you're a brand. Utility is basically a rewards program. You're adding benefits to the holders of that NFT. So, for example, if I release an NFT or a brand, perhaps I get special access to limited edition drops. Perhaps I get access to cool events. Perhaps I get inside this community of VIPs and important people that are relevant to my space. So utility is simply a benefits and rewards that you add to a holder of that token.
So you all become like part of a special club of people who own
have
this,
membership
and you get
access.
benefits. And then the idea is, as the creator of the NFT, over time you incentivize people to continue to give value to that NFT by giving them more meaningful rewards. So back to Amr. Okay. NFT artist and utility, yes, no, does it demean from the art?
بشكل عام بالعكس يعني كمسمى NFT artist أنا I'm so happy بالمسمى ده وزي ما ذكرت سابقا بحكم إني أنا من أوائل السعوديين اللي دخلوا المجال هذا. الموضوع طبعا هو موجود من 2017 لكن أنا زي ما ذكرت دخلت فيه من نص 21. هو صراحة بشكل عام في البداية كان في صعوبة شوية سواء من ناحية فاميلي أصدقاء المحيط اللي أنا فيه إنه إيش اللي بتعمله إيش هذا شيء جديد شيء غريب. لكن أعتقد أي شيء جديد بشكل عام في العالم كامل الناس في البداية تبى تفهم إيش الموضوع تبى تعرف أكثر إيش الهرجة إيش السلبيات إيش الإيجابيات. هذه الأمور أعتقد مع الوقت هتبان أكثر خاصة إذا واحد دخل المجال. فأنا بشكل عام بالعكس أم هابي جدا لأن أنا داخل المجال ده وبدأت أدمج أمور أخرى إذا قدرت أسميها physical and digital في نفس الوقت. بلس موضوع اللي سميناها المنفعة والفائدة. بالنسبة لي أنا عندي نقطتين. النقطة الأولى أعتقد الفن نفسه حق الفنان هذا هو أكبر منفعة. فهذا الشيء الأساسي إنه الشخص المقتني بيقتني حاجة من روح الفنان أصلا سواء كانت ديجيتال فيزيكال تحولت لديجيتال وات ايفر بس هي NFTs في النهاية. بلس إنه زي ما ذكر ممكن بعض الكوليكشنز أو حتى لو أنا ككرياتر لوحدي ماني معايا تيم أضفت مزايا للناس اللي يدخلوا معانا ويشتروا أو يكونوا ضمن المجموعة دي. وطبعا الموضوع زي ما ذكر موجود برا في أشياء مختلفة غير الآرت درينك ملابس وات ايفر وهيدخل هنا الموضوع شوية شوية إن شاء الله في كل حاجة I think يعني.
You know, it's interesting when you talk about in going back on this idea of utility in art, is it important or is it, as you say, that there is a value to the art for art's sake? I think maybe there is a problem inherent in these spaces that it's very difficult to be an artist for artist's sake. You know, last night we were at the pyramids. There was a big event called Art Egypt, and one of the artists who was displaying there is, you might be familiar with him, very, very famous global street artist, JR. So you have JR, who of course is one of the perhaps most publicized street artists in the world. And last year he enters the NFT space. And in recent months, he's been getting a lot of slack online for not constantly giving back to his community and not constantly adding benefits and adding utility. So what does it say when you have an artist of such stature and such fame, let alone an artist who's just beginning or entering the space, who can't maintain his credibility in the space because he's not playing that benefits game with his, let's call them with his community or with his audience. What do you say to that? How do you feel about that? Is it a hustle? Does this NFT space force the artist to go from being a reflector and a creator to being just another hustler?
أعتقد هذه تعتمد على الكرياتر وعلى الفنان، هو ليش حاب يدخل المجال، إيش النية حقته، هذه الأمور اللي تلعب دور كبير. it depends لإيش الشخص هو حاب، إيش اللي في باله وإيش الفكرة، ليش هو زي ما ذكرت في البداية، هل هو بيفكر إنه الآرت حقه يتنشر، هل هو يبغى يتعرف على ناس أكتر، هل بيفكر في شيء مادي أكتر. it depends للآرتست أكتر، لكن بشكل عام for me أنا بحاول أجمع بينهم كلهم، وعشان كده مؤخرا بدأت أضيف something physical مع بعض الأعمال لما someone buy crypto.
Faisal, what do you think? Is it possible to be an artist in a pure sense of the word in this space, or is it just a marketing exercise at the end of the day?
I think this supports my argument of the struggle of NFTs. Yani
Yeah.
You're saying a huge artist that went in the NFT space and people are saying, oh, this is not enough, you're not giving back. As a physical painting artist, I've never struggled with someone saying the painting is not enough.
Yes.
Because it is. When they buy the painting and they hang it in their house, that's enough. The thing with NFTs is that it's becoming more of a utility game than an art game. And because a lot of people, I don't think, see that the art itself has value, so they're looking for the utility. And now they're only buying things if they get a utility on it.
Yeah.
Which is what's wrong with what I see is wrong is with NFTs, or mixing, I say, NFTs with art. Because if you're an artist and your art is good, you shouldn't have to offer a utility with it or an experience with it to convince someone to buy it. And I think this supports the argument of physical versus digital assets or paintings.
I'm trying to support everyone.
No, I would agree. I think the utility of art is the emotions it stirs and how it makes you feel and your response to it. I think the issue is, in 2021, when digital artist Beeble sold that painting for $69 million, and everyone started losing their mind. And in a way, it was good because obviously so many people came into that space for the first time. But it was also bad because so many people with the idea of how can I get rich from this came into the space as well. And it became much more akin to gambling than it was to investing and collecting in art. And I think we will get there in the future, but there is still too much maybe reminiscence of people who are just expecting to 2x and 5x their investment on these NFTs. And right now we're in a bear market. There's not much money going on around, or crypto going on even around the space right now, which is a great thing. Because what it is doing, it's leaving the people within the space who care about the technology and understand its benefits on the long term. I think you're going to find over time this idea of collecting NFT art for the sake of artists becomes more prominent. And even if it's still nascent, you have things like historic NFT artists, right? People like things like CryptoPunks and Chromie Squiggles. These are some of the first sort of NFT art that were put on the blockchain, and these still sell for millions for the sake of being art.
Chromie Squiggles.
Squiggles?
Chromie
Squiggles, yeah. They're artificially intelligently generated colorful squiggles. And these sell for millions. And the idea is
I understood the word colorful.
What about squiggles?
Just about.
Anyways. So so these historic NFT pieces of art actually sell, and purely for the sake of collectors who are interested in that art. And yes, of course, there is speculation into the future of that as well, but that's the same in terms of the traditional art space. I think there's another sort of benefit there as traditional artists, which we should also say is that from the point of view of verification or authenticizing a piece of art, the traditional art industry loses about $6 billion every single year through fraudulent sales. NFTs, even if you're not selling the NFT by itself, but you're just associating it with the physical piece, and so they get an NFT with it, is a much more secure way to verify art as well and give it value in the future.
So you mentioned us being in a bear market, Timmy, and of course the rhetoric right now in this space is that it's NFTs are dead. You've got blue chip collections literally hemorrhaging. We have just a few kind of shiny moment spikes with certain collections, and then we're going back down into this deep, dark hole of Web3 nothingness. Are NFTs dead?
I
Wait,
mean,
are we supposed to be getting people
I think we're
excited
supposed to be
about NFTs or
promoting
the
the whole
opposite?
Web3.
I feel like Faisal messed with my mind.
I think it's just a paradigm shift happening, like Faisal said, where we are going to the point where NFTs are dead. People are not going to use the word NFTs, and the biggest brands in the world are not using the word NFTs.
Faisal, are NFTs dead? I feel like you want to be like, yeah, they're dead.
I think NFTs with the meaning of what people think they mean today is dead.
Okay.
But I think the system of it or the whole purpose of it is not. And it's yet to be realized when it's being used in the correct ways. But to be honest, I don't see that happening anytime soon.
So I read something interesting today, actually, and it said NFTs are the future. The future is just not today.
I think you also have, you say it's not yet now, but you look at companies like Nike, they just did an NFT drop, which also allowed people to claim a limited edition bag, a suitcase, a collaboration with Rimowa. They made something like $4 or $5 million in one day from that drop as a brand. That's in a big brand. You have brands like Disney working on next-gen storytelling. They believe the next Marvel is going to be essentially coming out of an NFT collection, because that level of connection and fandom can only come from that sort of fervent community that kind of surrounds, that gathers around an NFT collection. You have brands like Starbucks kind of replacing their rewards where you get coffees with something called journey stamps, which are also NFT collections. Brands are selling tickets, or a lot of events are selling tickets as NFTs, which continue to give you value long after you leave the event. Right, so I think it is already happening now. I think in Egypt, in Saudi, and in many places in the region, it's picking up very slowly. But you look at UAE and they're flying with it, and every single brand is looking to do their strategy. Some more novelty than others. And I think when it gets to the point that the first time you ever buy an NFT, you have no idea you're buying an NFT and you're paying with your card to get membership or access to something for less than $50, that's when you know mass adoption will hit in terms of the technology of NFTs.
Speaking of Egypt and Saudi, Amr and I were speaking earlier about the exciting developments happening in Saudi around that space. So maybe you can kind of share with people who might not be so familiar in this space how vibrant it is in Saudi right now.
يعني صراحة من أكثر الأشياء اللي يعني خلتني أتحمس أكثر ماركت بليس نقطة، بحكم إنه هو أول ماركت بليس في السعودية للNFT، وهذا الشيء رسمي جدا already مدعومة من جهات حكومية. وصراحة يعني أنا انبسطت جدا في البداية لأني كنت من أوائل الارتست اللي اختاروهم في الماركت بليس، بالإضافة لفيصل برضو. فالصراحة هذه يعني البداية بس. أعتقد هتبدأ كمان ماركت بليس ثانية تطلع. already في الشرق الأوسط في كم ماركت بليس قبل نقطة، لكن نحن ممكن بنتكلم هنا في السعودية تحديدا نقطة هي أول ماركت بليس. فيس الموضوع يحمس. وأوريدي يعني لما بدأت نزلت كم عمل في نقطة. لما دخلت قبل كم يوم لقيت إنه ما شاء الله يمكن 200 عمل نزل من ناس ثانيين، فالناس بدأت تعرف أكتر وبتنزل أكتر. يعني هي بدايتها تبدأ بالآرت، لكن أعتقد قدام هتتفرع ويدخل فيها كل شيء غير الآرت.
Faisal, what are you excited about in the space in Saudi right now? Who do you think is doing well and has the potential to create something tangible and long term? How do you feel about the space in general, or the market in general, in Saudi specifically?
In the NFT space or the art space in general?
Web3, NFT.
NFT space يعني زي ما قلت أخ عمر في بلاتفورمز كثير. أولها كانت نقطة I think من أوائل البلاتفورمز اللي فتحت في السعودية. نقطة بيسووا شغل جبار في إثراء أو المحتوى أو تعليم الناس عن معنى الويب 3 والان اف تيز وكيف ممكن استخدامها. أنا حطيت أعمالي في نقطة وبعتها الحمد لله. حاسس نفسي متناقض شوية لأني بقول I don't believe in NFTs وببيع هناك، لكن أتوقع نقطة عندهم مستقبل في القطاع إذا عرفوا كيف حاجتين: يثقفوا الناس عن الاستخدام الصحيح لل NFTs وكيف يقدروا يستخدموا البلوك تشين والتكنولوجي الممتازة هذه اللي هي proving ownership أو إثبات يعني ال ownership لأي حاجة، سواء كانت على أعمال فنية أو ميوزك أو أفلام أو إلى آخره. وثاني شيء الناس تصير تعرف كيف تستخدم هذه بالطريقة الصحيحة. أتوقع لهم مستقبل كبير يعني في المنطقة إن شاء الله.
هي الثقافة طبعا أهم حاجة I think في الموضوع كله عامة when it comes to Web3. I don't know is there time? Is there someone going to start yelling at us? Do we have time? Should we do a Q&A? I don't have time. Shall I wrap it up? That's wrapped up. Thank you so much. Thank you so
everyone.
much.
Thank you, Faisal.